Limerick 30 points, Waterford 214 at the Gaelic grounds. A comfortable win in the end for Limerick at the Gaelic grounds. A 10-point win is how it finishes up. A comfortable win nonetheless for the Treaty County. And look, for Waterford, they bounced back on multiple occasions. They made this game difficult. They made this game hard for Limerick. It wasn't an absolute walk in the park for Limerick. Like, it was comfortable enough, obviously, going down the home stretch with a 10-point lead and a 10-point win. Very much obviously how it finished up. But certainly Waterford did make this difficult, and certainly Waterford did show a tremendous amount of fight in this game, and they have shown a tremendous amount of fight this year. And I think ultimately for Waterford, they'll be so disappointed that they're not getting out of the Munster Championship. Like, they've done the hard part, which was beating Cork. Like, they had that win versus Cork, but it was ultimately the draw against Tipperary, and obviously everything that happened at the end of the Clare game, ultimately what has cost them. I don't think Waterford went out of the championship today to one of the best teams of all time, arguably the greatest hurling team of all time, a team I think will go on to win 6 Munster titles in a row in a couple of weeks' time, a team that I think will go on to win the 5 in a row in the All-Ireland Championship as well, as many people do. And like, Waterford went out swinging. Like, they battled so hard in this game. They fought tooth and nail. They just ran out of steam going down the home stretch. But this wasn't the game that cost Waterford the championship, in my opinion. The game ultimately that cost Waterford was towards the end of Clare. Even at that, they showed so much fight there. But at home against Tipperary, if they had won that game, they would have been through. They would have finished above Cork on the head-to-head. And ultimately, it's going to be a bitter, bitter pill to swallow for Davy Fitz. But look, it was a mad game. Limerick had something like 16 or 17 wides, yet still finished up with 30 points. Like, if Limerick had converted, if Limerick's shooting accuracy had been better, this could have been an absolute walk in the park. Like, Limerick could have finished with 36, 37 points, which certainly wouldn't have been a good look from a Waterford perspective. So unusual. Like, Limerick did have a lot of wides. Obviously, there was a huge breeze that Limerick were playing against in the second half, playing with obviously in the first half. But like, Waterford, to be fair, like, Limerick started well, obviously hitting, there were 4 points to 1 up early on. But again, in a similar fashion to the Clare game, every time Waterford faced a bit of adversity, they'd find a way back into the game. Very intelligent play, obviously, from Shane Bennett with the flick, obviously, on the free that dropped in to obviously put it past Nicky Quaid. And like, even at the start, like towards the end of the first half, Limerick were absolutely flying. Like, Shane O'Brien, outstanding. Cathal O'Neill had the game of his life. Cole Hayes was scoring some absolutely brilliant stuff. And then at the start of the second half, you were thinking, this is going to be tough now for Limerick. Like, Limerick have ended the half really, really well. It's going to be an uphill struggle, you felt, for Waterford, 6-7 points down. But they rallied and they found a way back into it. Like, Shane Bennett got a goal, another goal. Jack Prendergast was brilliant. And there was a moment in the second half for the final, in and around, I would say, the third quarter, which, funny enough, has very often been what Davy Fitz is obviously referenced as Waterford's downfall. They were on top and they were turning Limerick over. Limerick looked a little bit rattled. They were hitting a couple of wides. I'm sure Cork fans were obviously very nervous watching at home, obviously, as well. And you felt like it was there for Waterford, and you felt like they had a chance. Caleb Lyons, Desi Hutchinson, all getting on the score sheet. Patrick Fitzgerald was very good as well. But Limerick then just settled in the final 15 minutes. Adam English, again, coming off the bench, making a huge impact. That's the third game now this year where he's come off the bench and made a huge impact, and he was absolutely brilliant. Conor Boylan was very good as well, and it was just comfortable in the end for Limerick towards the end. And like, that's the thing, like, this Limerick side are absolutely ruthless. And like, even that point at the end from Keane Lynch, absolutely phenomenal stuff there. And like, shooting wise, they weren't at it today, but they still finished with 30 points, and that's the scary thing from a Limerick perspective. But like, look, for Waterford, they gave it their all. They battled. Like, Stephen Bennett with 5 points. Shane Bennett obviously getting 2 goals. Kevin Mahoney with a point. Desi Hutchinson with 2 points. I just think they ran out of steam towards the end. They just massively tired. Like, you're looking at it as well. Like, Limerick had lads coming off the bench making an impact. Like, Conor Boylan got a point. Adam English comes off the bench and gets a point. Whereas for Waterford, like, Pat Fitzgerald gets a point. But aside from that, their bench didn't have the same impact that the Limerick players had. And that was such a key difference, in my opinion anyway, from a Limerick perspective. And obviously at home in the Gaelic grounds, the fans obviously been bang up for it. It was always going to be an uphill struggle. Always going to be uphill struggle, uphill task for Waterford. But fair play to Limerick. Look, they're in the Munster final. They finished with 30 points today, but again, I don't think they were necessarily at their best. Still have another gear to go up on, which I think is probably worrying for the rest of the country. They've got now a Munster now. You felt like this was probably one of the best chances to put them away. And here they are. Here they are going into the Munster final. It will obviously be Clare. Will beat Clare, who obviously beat Tipperary by 3 points, 124 to 24 points. We'll see a bit more of that game on the Sunday game later. But huge for Limerick. Keeps themselves alive and well and everything else. And obviously huge for Cork as well, because Cork do go through now. They finish in the third place position. So Cork will, I think they'll play the John McDonagh Cup winners, either Laois or Offaly, and then they'll obviously go into the quarterfinals against the runners-up, I believe, of Leinster, which, who knows, could be Dublin. So might be getting a crack of Dublin Cork at Parnell Park in a couple of weeks' time, which will be interesting. We'll run through some comments here. Fell says, remember Limerick? Yeah, they certainly haven't gone away. Porrick says, Galway man here. Dublin were a lot fitter today. Yeah, they were. Dublin were outstanding today, in fairness. And Acer says here, quarterfinals, Cork v Dublin and Clare v Wexford. Semi-finals, Kilkenny v Clare and Cork versus Limerick. Yeah, it's shaping up very, very nicely indeed. Like you're looking at it there, like Cork, Dublin. Look, I think as a Dublin fan, like our best chance of getting to a semi-final is beating Kilkenny. I think we'd have a better chance at beating Kilkenny than we would at beating Cork. And then if we get through, then like who are you playing then in the semi-final? Probably Cork again. So do you know that way, or probably be Clare actually, wouldn't it? So Clare, Wexford. So who knows? Look, as a Dublin fan, you just got to get, we'll enjoy today, and then we'll go on to the Leinster final and see what happens there. But yeah, Limerick haven't gone. They haven't gone at all. Shooting wasn't great. There was a few moments in the game where they weren't particularly brilliant. But look, they scored 30 points. They won by 10 in the end. I don't think Waterford necessarily played badly either. So it was kind of the perfect scenario in the end for Limerick, where you win by 10 points. You still have a lot to work on going into a Munster final. And look, they got the job done. Like, again, like the most impressive thing I think about Limerick as well, though, is like you just keep finding it. And it does. There have been so many comparisons before with the Dublin footballers when they won 6 in a row. And like Dublin would, Bernard Brogan will be coming towards the end of his time. He'd retire. Alan Brogan would retire. And you just find other players who would come through. And that's what's happening for Limerick. Like Cathal O'Neill now playing the absolute, stuff of his life. Shane O'Brien, obviously, as well. Like, he wasn't a regular starter last year. Young lad. Now he's in the team and now he's contributing. Adam English is coming off the bench. Like, you have Shamie Flanagan who goes off early. But yet you still find a way. There's still players that are knocking on the door and making an impact. And like, yes, Sean Finn is injured. Yes, Darragh O'Donovan's injured. Shamie Flanagan goes off. Peter Casey isn't there. Like, Limerick just get hit with obstacle after obstacle, and yet they still always find a way. And it's the sign of a really, really great team. And like John Coyley always talks about the strength of the squad, the 26 and everything else. And again, it was so evident, like even Conor Boylan coming off the bench. So like, that's the thing. And like Cian Lynch today gets a point, and what a point that was as well. Like, to catch the dead ball in the way that he did, quick switch of hands and then pops the ball over the bar was incredible stuff. But again, I don't necessarily think he was at his best today. So like, there's so much more for Limerick to improve on, which I think is very worrying for the rest of the country. So there we go. Liam says Cathal O'Neill was immense, really stood up when Limerick needed him. Flanagan could be a loss if injured long term. Yeah, it's another big injury for Limerick. And you do wonder, like, how many more blows can they take? With Sean Finn obviously being out, then coming back, obviously not starting today. As we said before, like the question marks over Declan Hannon's fitness. He started, but he probably didn't look at his best, to be fair. Cian Lynch has had his injury problems in the past. You obviously don't have Darragh O'Donovan, Peter Casey, as we said. Mike Casey was only just back. So like, yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of injury concerns there from a Limerick perspective. But look, a couple of weeks now until the Munster final. They've done, they've got this part of the season over the way, which is probably like the most relentless part of the season. And then you're like, and the thing is as well, like you're looking at what's coming out of Leinster. And look, I'm a Dublin fan, don't get me wrong, but like Limerick probably are just going to play. I don't even know if they're even going to play a Leinster team this year in reality. Like, so I'll probably be Cork in a All-Ireland semi-final, which will probably be tougher than Galway of previous years. So yeah, it's brilliant from a Limerick perspective. Harsh on Waterford though, like you do feel sorry for them. They've given so much. I think they can take a lot of positives going into next year. I think Davy Fitz will certainly still be there, in my opinion. It's just rootless. It's absolutely rootless in the Munster Championship. And unfortunately for Waterford, they do miss out. Like it's mad. If they were in Leinster, they'd probably get out of the Leinster Championship. But it's just because of how competitive Munster is, in fairness. But there we go. Like in terms of man of the match for me, would have to go with Cathal O'Neill. He was absolutely outrageous performance from him. Like tracking back as well, making tackles. Even Shane O'Brien, I remember hooking players at one stage. So extraordinary stuff there from Limerick. The way they work as a unit is just so impressive. So yeah, go with Cathal O'Neill as my man of the match. And yeah, commiserations for Waterford. Tough one to take for them after giving so much in this game, giving so much against Clare. But ultimately, like you're coming up against Limerick, Clare, like even Cork, like you might be talking about three of the best teams in the country right now. And unfortunately, Waterford just happened to be in the Munster Championship with them. But there we go. That's the match reaction. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on the game. Man of the match, Cathal O'Neill for me. But let me know your opinions, your thoughts on the game. Hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. We'll be back live tomorrow evening to review all the games, to discuss all the games in detail. Obviously, Clare winning today. Dublin's win over Galway. We'll be looking back at the football championship action as well. So, yeah. Cheers, anyone who tuned in. Speak to you all again.